Guys, and this is gonna be what if Giorno was in Marvel Golden Wind, aka Part 3, but no one really calls it that because it's the movies. This is an original movie that I'm making up. Yes, it is based off of the actual anime Golden Wind, but it's not exactly the same as per the way that I set it up in Civil War last time. So we're about to explore the journey with Giorno Giovanna in Marvel. Now, we start off with Giorno running away from what seems to be a small little airplane shooting off bullets at him, as it is shown to be real bullets as it leaves marks in the ground as Giorno runs away through a building. You can't get away from me, Giorno Giovanna. Okay. Maybe I can't get away from you, but I can slow you down and hide from you. He then uses golden experience to punch the ground and create a tree that blocks the plane's vision. As Narancha can see through the plane, but since he's staying through the plane and the plane can't see, he can't find Giorno. And Giorno then hides behind a wall. He then says, "Dang it," and then calls for a stand back and gives up and goes back to Bucciarati. "I failed, Mr. Bucciarati, sir. I couldn't capture him." "It's all right. Well, since neither of you could get him individually, then our next strat is to catch him in a group." We then cut to a mysterious force talking to a pink-haired girl. "Trish, I need you to go on a secret mission. I do believe in Bucciarati's skills. I don't know if he can actually complete it with this one, since he also has a stand." She then agrees and then sets out on her mission. Now, a few days have passed, and Giorno decides to go out to eat. So he goes to, I don't know, any restaurant that's he's in Italy right now, so any restaurant that's in Italy. I don't really know too much about that, but yeah, some Italian restaurant, right? And so then a pink-haired girl walks in right after him. She follows him, but not in a way to where he can actually tell. And she follows him to a table where she acts like she was about to sit down there, where he was about to sit down. And then they bump into each other. They say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then they start talking to each other, saying that they're sorry for bumping into each other, and that the other could have the seat. As Giorno doesn't really like to cause too much, like to bring too much attention to himself, so he would just offer up the seat to her. But since she's acting and she's undercover, she's offering up the seat to him, and then she comes up with the idea that they can just both sit together. And so they sit together. They order some food, some Italian food like pizza and spaghetti. She gets spaghetti. Giorno gets pizza, and then they start talking about and they're symbolizing what they have to do, as she's talking about how her job is really hard, and her boss kind of overworks her, and how she doesn't like her boss, but she reveals that her boss is her dad, but she doesn't reveal what her actual job is. So she's like symbolizing what she does without actually saying it. And Giorno says, "Yeah, I owe these people a lot of money," which he just covers that. He lies about that because he doesn't owe them money. He's just running away from them because he actually owns something that they want, which is the stand arrow, which he found off screen, which he bought from Polnareff after Polnareff saw that he had a stand. And so Giorno talks about how he owes these people a lot of money, so he's been running away, trying to get away, and he doesn't have the money. Well, he does have money, he doesn't have the money to pay them back, so he's just been running away. And so they talk, they become friends. He gets her number, she gets his number, and so then they walk off. Alright, this is the squad with me, Narancha, and Mista. Three assassins. All three of them are assassins. They're all highly trained. Members of whatever Diavolo's gang was called. As he then calls this the Giorno Giovanna Death Squad. As then they head out, and since Trish got Giorno's number, she provided it to her father, to her boss, her father, and the boss provided that information to all of them. So now they can track Giorno wherever he is, whenever he's using his phone, or wherever he is with his phone. And so they track him to where he is right now, and that starts a whole battle. But that starts it after Mista decides to take a shot at Giorno, trying to snipe him, as he misses. But then his stand pops out from the pops out as it's riding the bullet, and it kicks the bullet right into Giorno's face. But Giorno luckily catches the bullet right before it hits him in the face. He then sees the little banana-looking thing riding on the bullet, as he then just flicks it away and then turns the bullet into a snake, and then he sends the snake back at the gun to. And it's a poisonous snake to where it can paralyze Mista, not kill him, but just paralyze him. And so he sends the snake, and the snake goes back to the gun, which leads back to Mista. Narancia then gets the idea to snipe him from the air, and while there are a few people around, he doesn't really care, as he's kind of embarrassed for what happened to him last time, as he just couldn't catch Giorno, Giovanna, and so he starts blasting from the air, trying to snipe him from the air, killing a few people, but Giorno, he just couldn't hit, and so Giorno creates a tree around him to block. And so whenever the tree was hit with the bullet, Narancia was hit with the his stand was hit with the bullets back, blowing his stand back and stopping the bullets from going like down on the people. But since his stand is like a special kind to where it's not humanoid shaped, and it's like a really far range stand, so it's not really close to him, it doesn't really affect him, but it just blows back his stand, so it stops the raining fire. And so that's when Giorno runs into an alleyway, and that's where he meets Bruno Bucciarati. Been a while, Giorno Giovanna. I could have lived without seeing your face again, but I guess not, as they're about to have their rematch. As then it pretty much, it doesn't go the same as last time, as Bruno knows about Giorno's ability to life punch him, and so he decides to stay away and not really let since Giorno's stand is faster, he decides to not let Giorno get any hits in, as he creates a hole. As he fills the alleyway with zippers, which then he goes inside of one and he starts attacking Giorno from left and right, from behind, from under, anywhere where a zipper is, as he can travel between those zippers, as they are like dimensions for him, like another dimension for him. And these punches themselves then create zippers on to Giorno, slowing his movements, again equalizing his speed like it last time. And Bruno thinks he has the win, so he pops up and he then delivers one final blow to Giorno's back, completely opening his back and messing up his balance. As Bruno says, "Haha, finally won." As Giorno reveals that he can actually heal himself, as I don't think he's ever done before. He's never done like this. As since Bruno's stance was punching him, that technically caused damage. Therefore, it was healable by golden experience, and so golden experience started healing the damage. Therefore, also healing the zippers away, as the zippers zipped back up and then disappeared away from his body. As Giorno then says, as Giorno gets a resolve amp and then says, "Your zippers won't work on me again," as Bruno is just caught off guard, and so then he just keeps punching and muda him until same thing happens again. He uses the life punch, and that just completely negs Bruno and just hits him, knocks him on his butt. He then stands over Bruno, retracting his stand, not able to kill him, as he says, "You're pretty strong. You should join me once the effects wear off." As he then walks away and then disappears. Bruno, seeing that he got bodied and that he just cannot beat Giorno, and is just disappointed in himself, is like, maybe I should join him. And then he decides to also bring his two fellow companion assassins with him to join Giorno. We then cut to a few days later, where Giorno goes to the same Italian restaurant, where and Trish also appears, as they exchange names, as I don't think I said that the last time they were there, and because they exchange numbers but not names. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, and then And then Giorno starts to like her, as he's like, well, she as they figured out each other's age too, and so he starts to get some feelings for her, and she does, and she acts like she does for him, but secretly she actually does. And so they decide to go on a date, and so they go to a carnival for their date. She then, seeing as Giorno being the type of guy to keep all his important stuff with him, so even if Giorno leaves a place, he knows he'll never leave anything important behind, therefore it will never get stolen or anything like that. And so Trish actually sees the stand arrow, and then after their date, she goes back to the boss and she tells him about the stand arrow. The day right after that, Mista and Narancia show up at Giorno's door. As Giorno realizes he might have to run again, as he's about to punch these two, but then Bruno shows up right behind Mista, and so then he stops and says, "What do you want?" And Bruno responds with, "Yeah, I'll join you, but there's something we have to do first." And then Giorno, being a pretty smart guy, says, "Oh yes, I know. Somebody's telling you to come and get me." Because I know usually assassins work alone, as I trained under a few. So I know assassins work alone. So when you three work together, that proves that you have somebody helping, ordering you around and commanding you. And so Bruno agrees with him and says that they all need to take him down together, as he's very powerful. He doesn't know exactly what his power is, but he's supposedly the strongest in the gang, and so Giorno agrees, and so they head to Diavolo. When they arrive, he sees Trish, and he's just completely shocked and flabbergasted at what Trish is doing and why she's there, as she reveals that she is she works here, and she is the daughter of the boss that they're trying to kill. And so Giorno, they have a little skirmish as Trish is winning, as she sends out Spice Girl, as it starts making Giorno's hands softer. And so he realizes that him being mentally nerfed and physically nerfed won't work. And it does wear off eventually, as long as she doesn't keep hitting him. And so Bruno then gives him access to taken to basically lead Narancia and Mista into the battlefield, as Bruno says he'll take on Trish himself. And so Trish, being overconfident, says, "I will slap you and your entire team all together." But Giorno trusts Bruno, and so they all get away through one of Bruno's, let's say Bruno Mars, one of Bruno Bucciarotti's zippers that teleport them to, transport them to another place. And then he creates one right behind her to bring them out, and then they all get behind her and they all run, and then he tries to punch her in the face, but then Spice Girl blocks it and makes his hand softer, and so the battle begins, as then Spice Girl punches the ground, making it softer, and then ruining Bruno's balance. But he gets used to it and punches the ceiling, creating a giant zipper on the ceiling, as he then holds on to that and unzips it, and it also allows him to use it like a zip line to move through the air, as he then drop kicks Trish. Now this is not true in the anime, but this is true to what I'm doing. While Trish's power, her stand power, is the exact same as Bucciarotti, so if they try to punch each other, it'd be the same power, and she's slightly faster. Only slightly faster, not massively faster like Giorno. She's only slightly faster. She could see it come in, but she just wasn't quick enough to react. But her defense is what's really low, and it's way lower than Bucciarotti's attack. Therefore, Bucciarotti, with this one good hit that she couldn't react to, one-shots her, and then he moves on very slowly, since the ground is still soft and really hard to move through. But he makes it, and then he moves on to fight with the others. Also, throughout the fight, they'd be pushing their ambitions on each other, to where he's talking about, where Bruno's talking about justice and all the stuff that Giorno fights for, and she's talking about what her dad fights for. And he mentions that she's just like a copy of her dad. She's not her own person, and that's what changes her. As while she's on the ground knocked out, she is thinking to her, and when she wakes up and she's still like super seriously hurt since her defense is so low. She sits there thinking about her life decisions. And so, once they get in, the moment they get in, the word King Crimson can be heard, as then suddenly they all skipped to where they were gonna be in 10 seconds, except for Narancia, as when they look back, they see Narancia standing there bleeding, as a hand is going straight through his chest, as Diavolo stands right behind him. "You fools! You cannot defeat me." Mista gets enraged and starts blasting at Diavolo, but Diavolo just time skips and dodges all of them. But then Misa's stand activates, throwing the bullets back, but then he just catches them all. "Well, since you've managed to survive more than 10 seconds against me, I will reveal my secret to you all." Or no, not a secret, but the history of stands. As he explains, the history of stands is only certain people are born with a genetic malfunction where one gene is different from the rest, and people don't know what that is, and they call it the Z gene. As not that. No, it's gonna be called an S cell for stand cell. Kind of like S cells in Dragon Ball for Saiyan cells or Super Saiyan cells or whatever. But yeah, it's gonna be called an S cell, as they each are born with one S cell, and so they need to go through a dramatic event, much like the Sharingan is awakened to awaken their stand. And Giorno was different because his was forcibly awakened by the Mind Stone. Otherwise, he would have got a different power or something. But instead, he got a stand, proving that he had an S cell to awaken it. By the way, I'm thinking of most of this stuff on the spot. So yeah. And so he explains that people with stands and the S cells, they started to experiment with their powers, and so, and much like a philosopher's stone is made in Full Metal Alchemist, human sacrifices, those with stands at least, were needed to be made to create a stand arrow, which had the power of a piece of the power of the Mind Stone, as well as S cells, mostly S cell power, which is just stand power. So it mostly had stand powers, which the arrow was said to evolve any stand that it pierces. It was said to evolve that stand into a greater form. Giorno finally realizes what he meant as he looks in his pocket, since he carries everything important around with him. He realizes that he has a stand arrow in his pocket, and that Diavolo could take it anytime he wants by activating his stand ability. But then, out of nowhere, Bruno appears right behind him, as he then tries to punch Diavolo in his back, and he actually lands the hit, creating a jacket-sized zipper on his right shoulder as it opens up, kind of deflating a little bit like a balloon. But it doesn't stop Diavolo, as he just backhands Bruno into the wall. Mista sees this as an opportunity to finally get his revenge, as he shoots some more bullets that just keep bouncing off each other, and then only Mista knows when he's actually gonna let the bullet actually hit Diavolo, but Diavolo doesn't know. But instead, Diavolo just looks 10 seconds into the future, and then time skips it all, and then by the time Mista does do it, the bullet has already gone through. Diavolo, but it didn't actually hit him, as then he punches his stand back away, which it does cause some damage to Mista, but not a lot, since his stand is much like Narancia's. He then looks at Giorno in a crazy way and says, "You, Giorno Giovanna, you are the one with the stand arrow," as he then charges right at him, at Giorno, as Giorno lets out his stand, and King Crimson obviously overpowers Golden Experience, but Golden Experience is just a tad bit faster, and so Giorno uses that to his advantage and creates some trees and plants to outmaneuver and to outspeed Diavolo, as Diavolo just has to cut through all of it, but when he tries, he just makes large cuts on his body, and so while he's bleeding, he just decides to stop attacking the plants. He then activates his ability, King Crimson, time skipping 10 seconds, as he then appears behind Giorno, and he then sucker punches Giorno and grabs the stand arrow at the same time. Thing is, he grabbed it with his right hand, and so Bucciarati, controlling the zipper, closed it to about halfway, messing with Diavallo's arm, and making him drop the arrow. This is when low defense Trish comes out of nowhere and grabs the arrow, as Diavallo smiles and says, "Come on, my dear daughter, you need to give that to me." As then Bucciarati says, "No, are you going to be another clone of your father, or are you going to be your own person?" And he says, "Give it to me," as they're both pleading for the arrow, and she is just out of her mind, and she just doesn't know what to do. As then Diavallo, not being dumb, even though he was a typical villain earlier, telling them his plan and stuff to evolve his stand, him not being dumb this time, instead of just still talking to Trish, he instead time skips over there, steals the arrow, and slaps her into the ground. As he then pierces his stand with the stand arrow, and Giorno being super fast, he decides to charge in, and you get this cool. Imagine in your head, you just get this cool slow motion shot of Giorno trying to stop Diavallo from piercing himself with the stand arrow, and he grabs the arrow before it hits him, but he accidentally pushes the arrow into King Crimson, but he pulls it out just in time, so it just causes a small scratch on King Crimson, and inherently a small scratch on Diavallo, which Diavallo doesn't feel any different than. His stand glows red for a few seconds, but then he doesn't feel any different as he gets angry at Giorno for stopping his plan, and so Giorno decides to do what any person would do at this time, and he stabs himself, and then this causes a big hole inside of Giorno's chest and his stand's chest. Well, he doesn't stab himself; he stabs his stand, but it causes a big hole, in his chest and his stand's chest. As Diavallo was just about to attack them, but when he realizes that they're dead, that they appear to be dead, he decides to turn to Trish's way and to Bruno's way and to Mista's way, and says, "You failure of a daughter." And so that's when she realizes she's her own person. She may be a failure of her daughter, but she isn't Diavallo. And so she tries challenging Diavallo, and Diavallo uses her low defense against her and slaps her away, almost knocking her out, just like Bucciarati did with the dropkick. Mista, being totally useless right now, decides to switch up his strategy a bit and decides to go hand-to-hand combat with Diavallo, but it instantly just does not work, and so Diavallo then kills Mista right then and there, with just one hand through his chest. As then suddenly gets reversed, as everybody knows what happened, including Mista, but he's like, "How did that not happen?" As Giorno stands behind him, saying, "You do not know the truth." As he stands behind him with a golden and blue aura, a golden aura around him, but a blue aura around his stand, as the stand arrow went inside the hole in his chest and filled it up, healing him and then powering up his stand in a golden and blue aura, as the golden aura is around Giorno and the blue aura is around Golden Experience Requiem. As then he rewinds that and says, "Return to zero." And then you know the rest. He mudas and puts and he doesn't put King Crimson, or he doesn't put Diavallo into infinite death loop. He decides to just kill him once, as Giorno is kind of changed from Captain America's bravery and all that stuff. So he doesn't want to be mean and just put him into infinite death loop. So he just kills him once. As whenever Diavallo tried to time skip, he just reversed it. Whenever he tried to sneak attack Giorno, he just reversed it. And so, yeah, he just couldn't do it. He didn't even get a single hit onto Giorno. Little does Giorno or Diavallo know, since he thought his stand didn't get an evolution, his stand did get an evolution. As after they leave the building, after they fought Diavallo, Giorno notices a small black diamond on his hand, as he says, "What is this?" It must be just a mark as he tries to wipe it off, but it doesn't go off. And so Giorno is kind of curious about what this is, but nothing on, but like nowhere, nothing says anything about it. So he just ignores it for now, as it isn't really a big change. And so Giorno and Trish then get together as Trish becomes her own person, realizing that she truly loves Giorno and all that stuff. And Mista stays alive, and so does Bruno. But I'm keeping Narancia dead.